fasten your seatbelts and put your adventure mode on, because we are about to take on a journey. An adventure that started out on my couch 14 years ago when I was reading a book about an expedition to the South Pole. But I wasn't only reading, I was also daydreaming, and I encourage you to daydream as well, because if you do so, you're traveling in your mind to places and situations that you really, really, really want to be in. And if you daydream enough about it, you actually might end up doing it. And through the power of daydreaming, I found myself 10 years later in Antarctica. I was saying goodbye to the pilots of the Twin Otter and taking my first steps towards my ultimate goal of becoming the 9th woman in the world to ski alone to the South Pole. It was intimidating in the beginning, and I was scared, and I didn't know the environment, but I adapted quickly, and soon I was working on a routine. I woke up every morning at 6 o'clock, and I had to start by melting a snow to get water for the day. I had breakfast, I packed my belongings, and after 2.5 hours, I was finally ready to go outside and ski. And I skied for 10 hours per day. And after skiing, I had to build my camp again, go inside, have dinner, melt snow, and after that, I was so tired I just had to go to bed. And the secret behind an expedition like that is to take a good care of yourself. Eat, drink, take the cold off you, and also respect your rest time. And after 60 days, I finally reached the South Pole. And for me, it was worth of every penny, every minute, and every step, and I would do it all over again. And goals don't need to be as big as that one, but just to have a goal and work towards it step by step until you reach it is always a great feeling. And now I'm going to tell you a secret. Because the last days of the expedition, I was asking myself if I would ever do it again. And I wasn't sure. I was so exhausted. But that night, when I laid down in my sleeping bag, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to climb the 7 summits, the highest peak in each continent, and I was going to do it in 1 year. And 3 months later, I was on my way to Denali to climb the highest mountain of North America. And I admit, I was really tired after the South Pole expedition, so I was struggling at the beginning. But seeing the result of gaining altitude and sticking through the hard times made it all worth it. And 3 weeks later, I was standing on the summit. And after that, I started to sell my own expeditions, and I led them as well. And I was living the dream. I was living the life that I had read about 14 years earlier. I've seen sunrises and sunsets from all over the world. And I had to fight through all kinds of battles. I got to know me better, and I got to know some people that I share amazing moments with that I will never, ever forget. I lived by my personal values, positivity, determination, and courage, and I followed my heart. And I've also been to places that not many people have the opportunity to see. I spent months in the third world, and it has changed my aspect of life. I've been happy, and I've been sad as well. I've learned a lot, and I even had my own cliffhanger moments. But overall, I was doing well. I did climb 6 of the 7 summits in only 10 months. And then I was in Nepal. And when I was reading on my couch, I came across a book about the big accident on Everest in 1996. And I would never, ever had imagined that I would actually witness the next big accident in the history of the mountain. And next to the guys that I had read about in the book. And now I've done it twice. And this is my team. And as you can see, I'm the only girl. And I'm also a little bit shorter than everyone else. And I don't know how often I've met some climbing members and I've been, oh my God, they're gonna eat me. I'm gonna walk slower, and I started to compare myself to them. But in fact, we all have some strengths and weakness that are going to help out or put us behind in times. But the most important thing is to remember when we're facing real difficulties, it's here. It's your mind. It's your mindset that's going to help you to break through and reach your goals. And after 9 days of hiking, we reached our final destination of base camp. And life was all about acclimatization and getting ready for the big goal. And wow, I was so happy. But one morning at 7 o'clock, I woke up with the most scary rumble I've ever heard. And when I think about it, I can actually hear it in my mind. And I thought, wow, that was big. But at that moment, I didn't realize how big it was. Because we live surrounded by the highest mountain of the world, and I thought that the sound was coming from somewhere in the distance. But I was wrong. I could hear the radio going on, and I went outside my tent, and I was told that there had been avalanche in the Kumbu icefall, and actually hit a group of people. The rescue teams were going up, and I asked if I could help in any way, and I did my best to assist in the medical tent. And this was a really hard day. There are no words that can come close to comfort someone who has been in such a tragedy like that. And when I got into my tent in the night, I tried to call my family, but I couldn't. I just cried and I cried and I cried. I had experienced something that was so big, bigger than you can ever try to compare yourself for. And I was absolutely heartbroken. 16 people, 16 Sherpas lost their life that day. My team lost 3 Sherpas, and our expedition was cancelled, and that was the right thing to do. I was offered to join other teams, but it didn't feel the right thing to do. So I went home, and I thought, maybe I will come back later if I will feel like it. But when I got home, I was so angry. And I was in so much pain. I was angry due to the fact there was a big political knot due to the salary of the Sherpas and the life insurances. And I also seen things that I wasn't comfortable with. Like people just wanted to pay more money to get to a summit. And I couldn't climb anymore. I couldn't reach the summit of our local mountain, Mount Asia. And I'm a professional adventurer, so I knew that I was in trouble. And I decided to do something about it, to step into my fear. And I saw a physiotherapist that helped me with my injuries, and I saw a psychiatrist that helped me with my mind. And step by step, I gained my strength again. And I also decided to set myself a new goal. And I was on my way to the Himalayas again to climb the 6th highest mountain in the world, Choyu, which is 8,201 meters, which is absolutely crazy when you can't even climb Mount Asia. But I was in Nepal 2 months later, and I was crossing the borders to Tibet. And if you look at that woman, she's carrying about 70 kilos on her back, but she's also carrying her baby in the front. And this is her only way to earn money for her family. And this changes your life. Some people have to think about to have a piece of clothing, but not what kind of clothes you have. Their life is about to have a food on the plate, but not to select fancy dishes from a menu. So traveling through the third world, it really changes your life. And after 9 days, I was with my friend Atli in base camp, and we started to carry our stuff up the mountain, and we didn't buy any extra service. We had no guides, no help from the Sherpas, and no supplement oxygen. So we kind of took the hard way. But quite early in the process, my friend got sick, and he had to face a difficult decision of going back home, but it was the right thing to do and show us how good of a mountaineer he is. But what should I do? Should I go home or should I keep climbing? But I desired it so badly that I decided to go on my own. And now I was all alone on the 6th highest mountain in the world. And after 6 weeks on the mountain, I was finally ready to do my summit puts. And here I am in Camp 2, and I'm resting and I'm getting ready, just have something to drink, some food, and trying to rest. And a group of people are coming down from the summit, people that I knew. And one of the guys was having a serious medical condition, and a lot of people were completely out of energy. And I tried to help by melting snow and give some food and in any way I could. But after that experience, I didn't know what I wanted to do, because they had had all the help from the guides and the Sherpas, and I was completely on my own. What would I look like after my summit push? And I walked around in camp, and I met my friend. He gave me a hug, and he said, "Villa, you are strong enough." And I said to myself, yes, I am. I went back to my tent, I went to sleep, and early the morning after, I started my summit push. But when I got to next camp, I looked like this. I was absolutely exhausted. And if you look into my eyes, you can see my spark is gone. And if you would have asked me at that moment, do you want to reach the summit? My answer would probably have been no. But what do you do when you reach the bottom? Well, first of all, just take a break. Ask yourself, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And what's my goal? Well, if you don't find the answer, just dig deeper until you find it. Have something to drink and have something to eat. About 20 minutes later, I looked like this. And that girl wanted to summit. So I crawled into my bag, and I was up 6 hours later at midnight. And I started to melt snow, and I tried to have a few bites of food in the dark. And then I tried to put my shoes on, and was like, oh! Wow, this is hard. And then another one, oh! And I could hear similar sounds from the tents around me. And I was like, they're trying to put their shoes on. And then I just turned around and put my head into the mattress, and I just had to rest for a while. And after a few minutes, I dared myself to go outside, put the crampons on, and put the harness on. And technically, I was ready. But I just stood there, and I stared at my backpack. And I was just sobbing like, because this is extremely difficult. The oxygen level over there is about 30% of what we are breathing now. But after a while, I said to myself, Villa, you are not here to give up. I took my backpack and strolled away. And it was dark, and I was alone. There were some people ahead of me though, so I could see their lights. But no matter how hard it is, the sun will always come up. And you feel warmer, you feel stronger. And when you see the shadow of the 6th highest mountain stretch kilometers over the Himalayas, you know in your heart that nothing is going to stop you now. And it's steep in places, and you can only do 10 steps at a time. And then you have to stop, and you have to breathe. And you're about to reach the altitude of a Boeing 477 that is flying between continents. So you are getting quite high. And then you do another 10 steps. And you have to stop, and you have to breathe. But even though you're going slowly, and even though the steps are small, each step is a step towards your goal. And 9 hours later, I was there. I was standing at the summit of Choyu. And that moment was so much bigger than I realized then. Because as soon as I stepped into the summit of Choyu, I became the first and only woman in the whole world who has conquered a solo expedition to a pole and a solo expedition to one of the 8,000-meter mountains. And that only happened because I decided to face my fear, to step into it, and face what had caused me a lot of pain. And I sometimes say, making your dreams come true means a lot of hard work, a lot of struggling, and a lot of disappointments. But if you fight long enough, you are going to come to that day that you will reach your summit. And the view from there is endless opportunities. And I turned around, and I saw Everest again. And I knew in my heart that I was going to do a second attempt. And I did, 6 months later. And I was in Nepal and actually at Mount Everest when the big earthquake hit Nepal. And I survived. And my thoughts are with the people who lost their loved ones and had to rebuild their homes. And I don't know if I will ever try to climb Mount Everest again, but I know that I will travel again and again and again to Nepal because it's such a beautiful place. And at last, I just want to say, if you have a dream or if you want to set yourself a goal, it's always, always, always worth it, no matter what other people think. Because this, here, your heart, is your best compass in life, and that's the compass that you should follow. Thank you.